G2, it's great talking with you today.
Mark, so good to be here, man. Thank you for having me at your event. It's exciting.
Absolutely.
And so congratulations on all the success you've had with Smartsheet.
So G2, with things moving so quickly today, what should businesses be focused on? What's important to solve for today?
You know, the way that we think about this, we're in the third phase of this kind of transition. People used to all work in the office. Then with the pandemic, everyone switched overnight to working at home. And now we're in this phase of hybrid work, where it's going to be mixed mode. Sometimes people are going to work in the office, sometimes they're going to choose to work at home, sometimes somewhere in the middle. And what we've seen is, while people can be productive, mental health and well-being is actually a pretty big dimension of that. And how do you make sure that people are not just productive, but also healthy? And so one area that we've seen a huge challenge that's not working as well is we're in too many meetings. And in fact, companies like ours have the wrong metric that we go out and look at is how many meeting minutes have you gone out and served? Instead, what we should be thinking about is how few meetings can we serve and still get the job done? And so an area that we've actually been thinking about long and hard is this notion of asynchronous communications, where yes, there's going to be synchronous communications that we have to do when decisions get made and we're all coming together. But there might also be times that we don't need to all be together at the same time, especially in a distributed organization with multiple time zones. And you want to just make sure that you have async video communications. And so that's an area, for example, that we're seeing a huge amount of kind of development and progress, where you'll see a lot of innovation over the course of time. But there's so much opportunity. We're in such the early innings of all the things that need to happen and how people work in this mixed mode.
And when you think about, you use the word asynchronous communications, how about on a non-communications dimension? Yeah. So when we have a meeting and we talk about what we're going to commit to one another and what we're going to achieve, what are some of those other things that can be brought into that body of work?
And this is precisely the reason why we're here together today, which is the combination of what Smartsheet does and what Webex do is so important, because you folks are a great system of record for what needs to happen and what's the ledger of what's happening. And we are allowing for people to make sure that they can engage and collaborate and communicate more effectively, either synchronously or asynchronously. But when those two get pulled together, it's a very natural motion. I'm in a meeting, I want to actually look at a Smartsheet document. I shouldn't have to worry about, oh, did I share my document? Do you have rights to it? Do you have access for that? Do you have to log into Smartsheet? None of that. You're just in the meeting and you should be able to hit a Smartsheet button and voila. Yeah. You have the integration.
One of the things I love about that G2 is when I think about what causes someone to tip into a meeting or out of a meeting. If you were to say, well, just everyone sit tight for 3 minutes while I get this, I might tip out. Right? So it's not that, is it possible to show me the thing? How quickly and conveniently can you show me that?
Those 3 minutes feel like 3 hours when you're in the middle of a meeting and there's 100 people in a meeting and you want to go out and do something.
So when you think about design and what Webex is doing today to deliver beautiful experiences, tell us a little bit about how you think about this app ecosystem and the framework you're building. What are you trying to solve for with it?
So there's two dimensions. One is you have to be extremely customer obsessed and start with what the experience for the customers and work backwards. And so how can you take out the friction for the customer is really important. The second thing that's been wonderful about the SaaS ecosystem that both of us have been part of for quite a while now is in the past, in the client-server era, products didn't integrate that well together. You just bought everything from one company because they didn't integrate so well together. Now we've got this wonderful thing called RESTful services, where you can just go and call upon an API through a URL, and before you know it, you could integrate these two things together. And so what customers are expecting is, I've made an investment in Smartsheet, I've made an investment in Webex. You two better figure out how these two work together, because that's just what the right thing to do is. And in fact, what we want to do is make sure that we have an ecosystem, because we aren't arrogant enough to think that we can outpace the collective power of an ecosystem from an innovation perspective. So there's going to be things that we do really well, and there's going to be things that other companies do really well. And we owe it to our customers to make sure that those seamlessly integrate without any friction. So if I'm in a Webex meeting, I should just be able to go and look at a document from Smartsheet seamlessly without a huge amount of friction that's imposed on me as a user.
And I think one of the things that attracted us to the ecosystem that you were developing is that it was very business relevant as well. So, we don't believe that our two systems are the only two out there in the SaaS ecosystem. So how can we partner well with the others who are also in that ecosystem and really create users? I think part of the pandemic has been how do you let people know what's available to them?
That's right.
So I think one of the beautiful things about that app framework is how do we introduce people that they yesterday didn't think was possible?
Yep.
Right? So that's part of our endeavor here.
And the beauty is, what you'll start to see is the network effect play on as well. So I'm in a Webex meeting, I'm looking at Smartsheet, but now I want to look at a Miro board and I want to look at a file in Box. And all of those things start to come together in a seamless way. So we're really excited. We think this is the very beginning of a very exciting partnership between our two firms. And I think you've built an amazing product.
Thank you.
And we're super excited to kind of partner up with you on that front.
So G2, when we do this well, when we do this as well as we think we can do it, what's the impact, both for companies and globally?
It's a great question. And if you think about the way that people think of hybrid work today, Mark, it is people thinking about it as, hey, I'm going to get some flexibility. I'm going to work 2 days at home, 3 days in the office. It's going to be great. I think the opportunity is far larger than that. So if you think about it, there's 3 billion digital workers on the planet. 1 billion of those are knowledge workers. 2 billion are frontline and field workers. And the way we think about it, each one of them can and should have the opportunity to equally participate in a global economy, regardless of the geography or language preference or personality type or socioeconomic level. And so if you happen to be in a village in Bangladesh, you should have the same opportunity as someone who is in the heart of Silicon Valley. And today, that's not the case, because opportunity is pretty unevenly distributed, even though human potential is not. You know, like I immigrated from India 30 years ago. Gosh, it's been 30 years. And you know, I had this fascination about America, which was I wanted to go there, I wanted to spend my life in America. And that's great. For people like me, immigration's a great thing. There's enough number of people who wanted to have access to opportunity but didn't want to leave the home that they were in. And the next generation will now be able to make that possible, because no one can now debate whether that's possible because of what we've seen in the past 18 months.
Yeah, I think one of the silver linings from a really tough 2 years is that I think people are now more open to it.
They really
we've
are.
been forced to work remotely. Well, that has opened the door now,
There's no
not
debate.
just domestically, but globally, and that's very exciting. Well, I'm very proud of the work we're doing together, G2, and I think when we create great experiences that unlock potential, it really lets anyone drive meaningful change, and that's really what it's all about.
Mark, we're so grateful for the partnership. I think your team has been nothing but fantastic in working with us. And thank you for building such a great product and being a product-oriented company. I think we need more and more companies that are product-oriented. And I'm hoping that this is one of many, many conversations we have about deeper and deeper integrations between our two companies.
Likewise. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.